Hi, everybody at DBMS. I want to wish you a happy new year and thank you for continuing on this series of personal and professional productivity. Today, I just want to update you a little bit on something I learned about New Year's resolutions. It turns out that only about 41% of people make them. And of those that do, only 9% 6 months in feel like they're really accomplishing anything from them. So today we want to talk a little bit about why that is. Now, first, a distinction between resolutions and goals. We've mostly talked about goals so far to this stage. Resolutions are simply the decision to start doing something or to stop doing something. Goals are the outcome that you want from that decision. So let's just get into it a little bit further. So I listened to a podcast the other day on the beach from a guy named Michael Hyatt. He's one of my favorite coaches. A lot of the materials that we've had in the class so far are from Michael. And there are these 5 reasons why people forget their resolutions and goals. First, they tend to be just too vague. It turns out a secret to achieving your goals is to write them down and to write them down very specifically. So I gave you a formula for SMART goals, and we'll talk about that as a little bit of a reminder in a second. Sometimes people forget their resolutions because they're boring. The things like clean the garage, things that don't inspire you. So your resolution should be something that really have intrinsic value, that benefit you. And it really helps when you pick goals that other people see and benefit from as well. For instance, deciding to run a marathon or something like that. The third thing is that they tend to choose goals that are just too easy, that don't inspire them. So it might be something like to hit a certain short-term dietary thing. And then once you've hit it, then you forget about it and then you gain all the weight back. So it's important to choose a challenging goal. It might be a goal that has a physical ramification or a religious ramification or a social ramification, but it should be something that you have a good chance of not achieving for you to be inspired. And believe me, there's a very big difference between just forgetting a resolution and stopping trying and pursuing something to your fullest and coming up a little bit short. Because with the latter, you're much further along. The fourth thing is that a lot of times we make goals so complex or resolutions that they feel overwhelming. I'm guilty of this, where I make sub-lists of things that have to happen underneath the primary goal. And in that, it just stops being real. It doesn't become crisp or something that I'm constantly thinking about. And finally, they're not in sight. They're out of sight, out of mind. So a key best practice is to keep your goals in sight. For those of you that have attended our class regularly, and by the way, I'm hoping some of you that haven't been attending see this video because I'm going to give you the tools that you need to catch up on a couple key areas. We talked about this formula for change. So basically the idea is anytime an organization or an individual wants to make a substantial change in their life, there's a pretty high occurrence of people coming up short, as we talked about with the goals. And why is that? Well, we know going into change, there's always resistance. So on this formula here, R has to be less than the combination of D times V times Fs, and I'll explain that. But resistance is things just like habits, and that's mostly what we're going to talk about the rest of this video and next Wednesday when we reconvene. Inertia. Sometimes it's self-limiting beliefs, like improving time management. Some people think that they're bad in time management because they were inherently born that way. Well, that's not true. Time management best practice is just something that takes practice and attention. And then finally, just a lack of imagination. Matter of fact, that's what I do as a coach professionally. Is a lot of times I help business owners and teams of people imagine and then achieve better outcomes by simply removing self-limiting beliefs or spending a little time thinking about what you really want, you come a lot further. Now, the rest of your formula is D has to be dissatisfaction. So nothing is going to happen, especially around your personal or professional productivity, if you're not dissatisfied, truly dissatisfied or uncomfortable with some element of it. Many of you have talked to me about how painful it is during the busy seasons. Others have talked to me about just the frustration of having unstructured work days where you're constantly responding to the needs of others rather than focusing on the big important things that will move you forward towards what you need. Those are examples of dissatisfaction. And conversely, V is for your vision. Vision is where you imagine that if you implemented a resolution and you started accomplishing goals that you set, how much better your life would be, what it would feel like to have extra time with your family, or what it would feel like to be promoted into a partnership position, or whatever it is your goal is. And then FS is first step. And that's what this program is that's been sponsored by Firm Leadership. It turns out their goal, it might sound like when we talk about productivity, could be self-serving. It could be, oh gosh, let's squeeze more productivity out of our people. But really, that's not it at all. With everybody that I've talked to in Firm Leadership, it's all about giving the workers a better work-life experience because it's just good business to have happy, creative employees. So the steps I'm going to give you today are simple first steps that you can take that will dramatically improve your chance of improvement. And the good news for those of you that have been through the class is it's nothing new. It's just actually doing the work that we've given you. Just as a further reminder, on average, people that don't write down their goals but have a vague idea of them achieve some of them. Let's say on a scope of 10 vague ideas, they might accomplish on average 4. But the sheer act of writing them down improves your odds or improves the number of goals that you achieve by 50%. You might remember from the class that we talked about goal setting, the story about the graduating class in Princeton in the 1950s. The speaker asked those that write down their goals to raise their hands, and only 3% raised their hands, which is generally true today. In your population, if you don't write down your goals, you're not alone. But here's the payoff. They measured the success of that graduating class, and it turns out 10 years later, when they monitored the success by a range of measures, including how much people earned, the top 3% that regularly wrote down their goals earned as much as the other 97% combined. And likewise, many of the 97% were working for levels down from those that did. So this is pretty serious business and a very simple thing. I'm challenging you to write down your goals, and I'm going to give you a way of doing it. Finally, also, people confuse action with goals. So when you write a task list, that's an example of action. But if it's not tied to the outcome and the emotion, the dissatisfaction, your vision for what you want, that's the reason why in this study, produced by Dominican University, fewer goals were attained when they're actions. Finally, when you commit your goals to a friend, so in this case, we have a supportive work group within your firm, by committing to common goals around time effectiveness, around calendaring, around emails, you improve your odds again. And finally, when you regularly communicate progress or even setbacks to your colleagues, overall, you'll make greater progress. So that's the secret, for instance, behind systems like Weight Watchers, where you get in a group of people and you set your goals and you report your daily success. It keeps that in front of your mind so you're less likely to forget or minimize the importance of the goal. We talked about the fact that your goals should be specific, measurable, aligned with your values, realistic but risky, and time-bound. So what are you going to do differently in 2022? I want to remind you that 90% of what we do every day is based on habits. So my recommendation is, and this is earth-shattering, do fewer unproductive things and more productive things. And I want you to find joy and productivity in your work and in life. So if those of you that went through the goal setting exercise, the picture is a picture of the combination of goals that we had for business success, financial success, health, lifestyle, family, faith, things like that. Have each of you completed your individual, because they're different for all of you? Weight loss versus social status, time with loved ones, professional advancement. You all have different needs. So I'm going to encourage you to complete your individual exercise. There will be the know your starting point exercise attached to the email that you'll get this video. And I'm going to encourage you, those of you that haven't been attending the class, to go ahead and complete it and share the results with your coworkers, because that's going to be part of the next step that we're going to take. The other thing is setting a big, hairy, audacious goal. So on that team goal, we presented all those individual goals, but I want to put one major goal in front of you that we've talked about as a leadership team within the firm and within our class, that those of you that haven't been attending might not have heard. But we all have the hypothesis that we can get 1 hour a day back for every one of you. 1 hour a day. And I know this works because Michael Hyatt and company, the company that created the tools that I've created for you, recently cut their work week back from 40 hours to a mandatory cap at 30. They literally cut their work week by 25%, and their sales have doubled. Now, I know that there's complications in the accounting world, a feeling of lack of control, but there's also a lot of similarities with the coaching world. So let's not start with the assumption that you can't do it. Let's find the commonality with what you can do. And that'll be my role in the next 2 sessions of helping you guys work through that. And we'll brainstorm. So this is another reason for those of you that haven't been attending to go ahead and attend. So the exercises will be this. All of the people that have been attending have these rituals. Rituals, an individual habit put together in a list of things becomes a ritual. The idea with morning and evening rituals, or workday rituals and work shutdown rituals, is that you take together a group of similar tasks that help you not think on each individual one, not make individual decisions. So morning routines might be getting out of bed at the same time, taking your vitamins. It might be just wearing the clothes that you've laid out the night before so that you're not thinking about it. These series of tasks automate you, much like when you drive out of your office, your driveway in the morning to go to work, you're not thinking about how to get to the office. You know, your brain's been programmed. Well, we want to do the same thing with rituals. So I'm going to ask you guys on these worksheets to write down on the right-hand side all the possible activities that you might do for your morning ritual, your evening ritual, your workday startup ritual, your workday shutdown ritual. Now, all of you are in different phases of your life. Those of you that are young parents, for instance, I don't know if there's any in there, your morning ritual might only be 5 minutes. My ritual personally is an hour and a half because I include my morning run on the beach, as well as my list review, my goal review. So it's okay for them to be different view, and your ambition level will be different. Write them down on the right-hand side, and then write in pencil what your rituals might be, an experiment. And I'm going to encourage you to have this done before Wednesday, and I'm going to ask each one to present the rituals that they've come up with. Now, if you haven't done it, I still want you to come. I don't want you to feel like you're not included, because this is actually pretty hard. I put off doing it for a long time myself. But since I've done it, my mornings have become so much more productive. I'm so much crisper as I move into my big 3 rocks, which I schedule now religiously most days between 8 and 10. So that's the one homework assignment for you before Wednesday. That's what we're going to work on Wednesday. We'll also review the ideal week spreadsheet, which is represented here as an example. And we'll be working on that the next 2 weeks to give you all a rhythm, both as individuals, and many of you will start working out a common rhythm. The thing that will be happening in the background, though, on our journey to giving you all back 1 hour a day is the firm's already investing in looking at new workflows and modern automation to eliminate boring, redundant tasks. In a similar way, I'm working with Holly and some of the other admins, along with all of you, As we come up with ideas for automation, we'll also come up with obstacles. And in our sessions, our coaching sessions, we'll brainstorm on how to get around those obstacles. But so in the background, I'll be working with your leadership team on email and calendaring productivity, which alone I'm very confident will get you back an hour a day. So that's the journey that we're proposing. I hope many of you will join us. I know all of you won't for various reasons, and there's no judgment. As we talked about in the beginning of this, the odds, people who don't regularly do this, most people don't. But the odds are staggering for the results that people do. So even if we can get a couple of you doing it, it will make a huge impact on your life, your productivity, and it will certainly impact the performance of the firm. If you have any questions, as always, I encourage you to call me one-on-one. It's included with my retainer with the firm. I'm here to be a guide for you to help you address the issues that are holding you back, the constraints. So happy New Year, everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday.